All right, here we
I'm
go.
just letting y'all know if I disappear off camera, I'm pretty sure it's because the stool I'm on broke. Just for a warning.
All right, we'll pray
It's
for that not
scaring me.
Well,
happening.
well, we will definitely not use that as the highlight of the podcast, or
Or
we
You
maybe
will.
we
really
will.
could. It
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
be funny. It would be
you'll
very
actually
funny.
probably get more views than anything serious. So,
That's fair.
all right, here
It's
we
like
go.
that lady in the Zoom call who like her chair broke and she just
I,
disappeared.
yep. So funny.
That's funny.
It was Texas, it was Tennessee. It was what I had coming to me. You were unlike anything.
Alrighty, folks, welcome into the Texas to Tennessee podcast. To my left is Soul Gravy, and tonight we are thrilled to have Carissa Carter on the show. So welcome in, Carissa. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Yeah.
Very excited. Also,
Mhm.
shout out to everybody on YouTube. Appreciate y'all being here. Hopefully, we'll keep you entertained for the next hour, or at least Carissa will.
I think
Exactly.
y'all will.
Exactly.
So, first off, if you wouldn't mind maybe telling the folks a little bit about yourself, maybe take a few minutes and just kind of tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, I'm from Sulphur Springs, Texas. I moved here when I was 7. I always say I'm a Hoosier by birth, Texan by right. I'm originally from Indiana, but I've lived here ever since then. I've spent most of my life singing in church and to cows. I went to a very small church. I did not grow up on a farm. My neighbors had cows. I always joke at shows I've been mooed a lot, so if people ever start booing, I'm just going to think they're mooing and it's a compliment. But I started singing in church when my grandmother walked in one day and told the preacher I could sing and play guitar at the same time, so I should be on the worship team. And I ran up to her and was like, "You lied in the house of God, because I can't do either of those things." And she was like, "Better start practicing." So that was how all of that started. But I never thought I was any good at singing. I went to college, never really planned on pursuing it. I kind of just put it all on the back burner. And I to get over a horrible breakup, realized there was a recording studio in Commerce, Texas. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go treat myself. I'm going to go record 4 songs, just one and done takes. And then a year later, I did 4 more. And I was out camping one night with friends, and they started playing songs. And we had a speaker. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to play one of these and see what they think. And then they all said, "Oh my gosh, is that you?" And 2 weeks later, all 8 songs were on Spotify. If you go to my Spotify, you'll hear it. I called it the scratches part 1 because it's just me and a guitar. Everything was one take. They're really old songs, and it was a very young me. But that's what's out there now. But one of the songs though, it went crazy, and I think it was Finland, and it got like 10,000 streams. Just me and a guitar. That one's called Walkabout. So
Yeah,
then I was there. Then I realized I might be able to do it. So here I am.
it's a very cool story.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
that might be the most organic story that we've heard.
Hmm.
Because we've
Really?
heard,
Oh man.
yeah, I mean, we've heard a few, everybody has a
Yeah.
different path to kind of finding their voice or
Yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, that's super cool. So, one of the things that we like to do is we like to do some research about where you're from.
Oh
So,
man.
I'm going to quiz Soul Gravy here.
Uh-oh.
Who's the most famous bank robber of all time?
Um,
Put you on the spot.
be Bonnie and Clyde?
Close, close.
No.
John Dillinger from
Okay.
Mooresville,
Okay.
Ah.
Indiana.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You were about to
Okay.
ask something else, who's the most famous? I was about to say Carissa, but then I'm glad
Right.
I listened to the rest of the question.
Well, we're saving that for part 2.
Okay,
So
okay,
part
Exactly.
2 is famous folks from Sulphur Springs.
okay. I got this one. Carissa Carter.
There you go.
All right,
Um,
yeah.
Easy.
also slightly
Okay,
less famous.
okay.
We have Colleen Hoover, who wrote
Yes.
It Ends With Us.
My
Pretty well.
my neighbor, she taught her in school.
Yeah,
That's
very
small.
cool.
It's a small world.
It is. It
Anyway.
is very cool. Casey Brown, who's a pop singer. I don't know if you're familiar with her, Soul Gravy.
Mm-mm.
Um,
I'm familiar with her work.
Philip Wilburn, who is on the Jimmy Kimmel Show and How I Met Your
Yeah.
Mother.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
And then 2 big ones, not quite as big as Carissa, but 2 big ones. Forrest Gregg, famous, like, I think Hall of Fame
Yep.
NFL guy.
Yep.
And then Casey Musgraves was born in Sulphur
She
Springs.
was born at our hospital. She's not from Mineola, but it's the closest town. She's from a little area between Quitman and Mineola. Everyone here talks about that. And Lindale, Miranda Lambert. But yeah, they're all close.
Very cool. Well, it was pretty
Yeah.
impressive because sometimes we get the list and we're like, wow, this is going to be the most famous person for sure that we're going to have on. from
The
that town.
the most famous incident, they still talk about it to this day, was when Blake Shelton revealed on The Voice he'd been in our Walmart, and nobody in this town had caught him in our Walmart. That's still talked about. After he was
wild.
married to Miranda. Yeah, he went and he bought it there, and everyone was like, he walked in and no one noticed. So
Yeah, because she's
Yeah.
from Lindale, right?
yeah, he bought. Yeah, yep.
Okay, cool.
Okay, it seems like we've got friends on our TikTok and stuff that's from Lindale as well.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah,
I was
think
just
we
there a
do.
couple weeks ago.
yeah.
Yep, I think we do. I think hopefully Miranda's mom wasn't investigating them, but there's a chance. Shout out to the people that follow Soul Gravy's page. But
Yeah.
all right, well that's
Okay.
that. Yep, that's the first part. I guess we'll lead off with the weirdest question of the night,
Okay.
and then it'll get easier from here.
Hey,
So
I want to do something real quick about as far as her area. My dad actually lives about 15, 20 minutes away from there, so he's in Hawkins.
Oh yeah, that's
he's
cool.
not far. So
Nice. What part are you from, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm from Tennessee. They moved there.
Okay.
Yep. They
they were the
moved.
smart ones in the family.
Yeah. They moved from one area of BFE to even smaller area of BFE. So
That's how it always works.
they're just BFE West. So,
Yes,
Yeah.
that
Nice.
makes sense. All right, so this is called the pie question, and I'm
Okay.
gonna give you a pie. Feels appropriate being around Thanksgiving, but you have to divide
It
it up
does.
into four sections, and the four
Okay.
sections are all different parts of the music business.
All right.
So one is the creation or the writing of the song. Two is the recording. Three is performing, and then the fourth piece is running your business, running your individual music business.
Yeah.
First question is, where do you naturally gravitate? One of those four sections, do you feel like, oh, that's my thing?
This is a really interesting change, but as I've progressed, the business side, I love that.
okay.
Very cool.
Then yeah, but it was songwriting, and then as things have taken off, that's where that's my go-to now, because once I de-stress doing all of that, then I can go songwrite. So
Nice.
songwriting's my reward. Yeah.
Okay.
Very, very cool. And then which area do you feel like maybe, okay, that's maybe not my favorite part, but I feel like that's an area I want to get better at or focus on?
It's one of my favorite parts, but definitely songwriting, get better at it. I'm always looking to become better at that. That's not something that comes naturally for me. So
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you prefer to write, I guess specifically on writing, do you prefer to write on your own, or do you have
oh, man.
like groups of people that you write with, or?
For most of my life, I've had to write on my own. I haven't had anyone to write with. Sometimes even just like having a family member or someone else sit in the room while I write the song, I get a different vibe or a different melody. But I just recently got to start co-writing this year, and that is a blast. Because the song sounds so different from what I usually write, because there's someone else there, and
Yeah.
you get their style, and I love it. I love writing by myself though too. I've written probably 90% of my songs by myself. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then process-wise, everybody seems to do this a little bit different. What is your process when you write? Is it, phrases into a phone? Do you start with the melodies first, or maybe some other way?
That's a loaded question. It depends on the song. I have a running list in my phone of phrases, titles, random lines that I come up with for one song and decide at the end of the day it doesn't fit, so I save it for another one. I sing all the time, so melodies are the easiest way for me to write a song. I'm always coming up with different melodies. I know whenever I was on Real Texas Radio, Rob and Taylor were like, none of your songs sound the same. They sound the same, but they don't sound the same, because that I consider to be my forte. Words are the hard part. But sometimes it's that. Sometimes I'll be sitting at a piano and stuff pours out, a guitar. It really just depends on the song and honestly my mood.
And then this would be, I guess, a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Were folks in your family musical, or how did you start on the piano and then work your way?
I would say my family's not musical. My nanny, my grandmother, she told me when she was younger she used to be able to sing, but she's passed away now, so I feel like I can say this safely and her not rise up from the grave and get me today. But the one time she ever sang in church, it was pins and needles for us, to put it politely. So she would tell you, though, I get my singing voice from her. I would say no. There's no recordings of her when she was younger, but that's what she would say. But I have an uncle who's really good at guitar on my dad's side, but otherwise, that's all I know. So none of them ever gravitated towards it.
What was it that got you, I guess, initially moving in that direction? Was there anything that you remember specifically that you're like, oh, this is something I think I want to get more involved in?
Honestly, I would say there was nothing. And that's a really weird thing to say. I was just always singing, and I never listened to music. When I was a toddler, I remember my mom loved George Strait. She would have George Strait on, and I would start crying when other music was on because I just wanted to sing.
Oh.
And so I was the annoying toddler. But I didn't really start listening to music until I was about 15-ish, which is very late to the game. I still feel like I'm playing catch up on it, but that was when I really started to think, oh, like I really like performing cover songs, because at that point all I had done was sing in church, and that was more out of a need because we went to a really small church. So
Gotcha.
that was when it started to really lighten up inside me.
Awesome. Well, we will have more questions about that a little bit later, but I'm going to pass it over to Soul now.
Okay.
Okay, as far as when you started listening to popular music, do you remember what was kind of what was playing at the time?
Yeah, Carrie Underwood, Storyteller album. That was the first one ever. I can sing almost every Carrie Underwood song. That's terrifying thought. But I would go home, and I was a freak about it. I would pull up and I did this for hundreds of artists. I would find a song, something I couldn't sing, and I would just play that 10-second clip on repeat. And I would do this 3, 4, 5 hours after school until I could sing it. And then I would move on to the next part of the song. And one song, it was horrible. I tortured my brother. But I spent hours doing that. And I wouldn't do homework. And it was, I just feel bad for them because they've heard it all.
And another thing that just to touch on that you mentioned in passing, in those questions from Talbot there. What about on the co-writing? How did that get started? And kind of, I guess, can you touch on that a little bit more? How did you find yourself in a co-write, and any information on that?
I honestly started going to open mics. I would meet people. I would vibe with them. And I know a lot of people like to get to know each other and become friends before they go co-write. I am not of that mentality. To me, if the chemistry is there, we're going to write a song and we're going to be best friends by the end of it. We can talk for hours before we write the song. But for me, that's I love making friends that way. I know it's not the case with everybody. I've had other people we go get coffee 4 and 5 times, but a lot of times I just ask. The worst they can do is tell me no, or say, hey, can we go get coffee first? I'm not comfortable with it. And that's my approach. But the first ones I ever went to were with my friend Amy Johnson at Top Shelf Talent. I went with her, and we were going to write with Chad Rowland that night. We ended up recording a demo, and I'll play this song for you later. But my first ever true co-writes were with Danny Reed and Shelby Ballinger. So I wrote some songs with Danny, and then I wrote some with Shelby. And the one I wrote with Shelby, I'll play for you later tonight. It's called Insane. So that's what I'm hoping to release next year.
Very cool.
did
But
you
yeah,
find yourself pretty comfortable in that situation, or
no,
was it terrifying?
terrifying. You're
Terrifying.
so vulnerable, and you're exposed, and I'm an adrenaline junkie, so for me, there's like a shot of adrenaline that kicks when the magic starts happening, and I don't know, you feel like it's such a deep connection. I don't really know how to describe it unless you've been through it. You just feel really exposed, and at the end, you're like, how did this song come to be?
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah,
but I guess did you realize that they're being vulnerable also?
yeah,
Did
that's
that
what.
come across to you as well? It's like
Oh yeah,
this isn't just me in this position.
yeah. Oh no, it's everybody, and you feel the energy. It's amazing.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah.
Um, so as far as the you mentioned as far as the co-writing goes, it kind of changed your style a little bit as far as maybe the melody or whatever it would be. Have you had any songs where you have had, what you thought was a pretty solid idea, and then you start writing with somebody else, and it kind of takes a turn that you didn't expect? Have you been in that situation, or?
Yeah, I had an idea for a song called Heartbreakers Paradise because I there's always someone whenever I was going to open mics and I still go to open mics and there's usually at least one person there who they're just like, yep, like you can break my heart, won't bother me one bit. Like I'm like a paradise. I'm not gonna get you to call me the next day. All of that. I have no expectations, and so I went into the right with this idea and we started writing it, and I remember it's a really fun, flirty song by the end of it. And I normally don't write stuff like that on my own. I was just like, this is a vibe. I was not expecting this song to take that turn. I was thinking it was going to be the sad country song, and then I don't know, it's bluesy and soulful. I'd have to play you the work tape, but yeah, I can't sing and play that one, or I would play it for you.
No, that's
But yeah,
I understand. I imagine that would be. I've never been a part of anything like that, but just thinking about it,
yeah,
because I would probably gear towards more the sappy uh, songs as
exactly.
well, and then, so yeah,
Yeah.
I would be leaning on someone else to brighten it up some. So
Yeah, I know. I just remember the first line, it just poured out of Jess. She was just like, bring your poor and you're tired and you're sick and you're hungry. You got a seat at my table. And I was like, oh my gosh, vibes completely changed right out the gate.
Yeah, so all the Chris Knight songs have already been written.
yeah,
So
Yep.
I've been trying. I've been trying.
shut up.
Someone has
Yeah.
been unalived in my songs, but it just doesn't fit the same. I don't know why.
I've got a couple
Um,
of those.
so,
Nice.
when I think of open mics, I don't really think of, because most of the time, open mics can be a lot of people on the, how do you say it nicely, but on the
Fringes.
just amateur, not trying to do anything necessarily. They're just,
Hmm.
what I mean? They're just trying to do their thing a little bit while, when they're not at work and whatever else. But they're not trying to network the same way that you are. So I
Hmm.
never really, I know that a lot of people do that, but I never thought about that as far as going to open mics to actually meet other writers and, like-minded people that, it just, that
Hmm.
part never crossed my mind. But also, I don't think the open mic scene in my area is the same. So,
I don't know.
Well, one thing I will say about um, there is a little bit of a culture here of even like open mic
Yeah.
competitions and open mic
yeah.
nights, and you know, I think I don't know, maybe one of the bigger things for newer artists around is getting involved in that LJT songwriter contest, which that kind of is a natural. If you start doing well in the open mics and
Yeah.
maybe winning some of those opportunities, that's been a springboard for a lot of folks. And also, I think usually comes with some free recording time as well, which is always nice. But yeah,
No,
that's
that's
part of the
great.
culture here.
No, that's great. It just never crossed my mind. Like in my area, you're more out to go to a blues jam where people can sit in and play than they are
Yeah.
a
That makes
real
sense.
songwriter's
Yep.
setup. And so yeah,
Yeah.
that would, and I imagine that there are pockets around where that is more popular than it is here, but still, that's great that it's available though.
Hmm.
Yep. And
Yeah.
even the
Sure.
even the songwriter rounds or whatever in Nashville are wildly different than the ones here.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just got back from Nashville. They're so different. Yeah.
Can you
There,
talk a
I
little
was
bit
like, this
about
is,
that?
yeah, no, I went to some and everyone sits on stage and they take turns doing songs and here you get up and you've got three and you play them all. And I noticed too, a lot of times you don't really get to hear the story behind the song in Nashville, and here everybody wants to hear the story behind the song. So, because I know I did like an open writers round at one of them, and I got told I had to stop telling the story before I sung the song. I was like, oh, like good to know.
That's how we do it. Yeah.
So, yeah, I was like, got it. That was my first one though, so that was a cool one.
Just it's just more fast paced, even though it's a songwriters event.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
it
kind of
is. Yep.
Well,
you always think country is, country in general. You think of slow and peaceful and whatever, and then there it's like
Yeah,
New York City song. I don't know. I don't know.
I
the
That's
songs
strange.
were amazing though. I was in heaven.
I would
Yeah.
make
That
the
really,
argument.
Nashville really is. Yeah, Nashville is a songwriter's heaven.
Yeah, that's something that stood out talking to different people on the podcast, and it doesn't matter the genre either.
Hmm.
We've had
Yep.
some blues rock bands and things like that,
Yeah.
and you always think of at least from a broad overview, you think of Nashville as just everyone
Hmm.
is that it's radio country only, but there's a whole nother
Hmm.
world there that most of us don't really think about. The
Yeah.
radio section is probably a small part of it, honestly, like, probably
Hmm.
a small percentage.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering how few songs are actually on country radio,
Yeah,
I mean, that would explain that, right?
I've heard. I don't know. I really haven't listened to the radio in a while, but I hear.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
people talk, word gets around.
yeah, word gets around.
Yeah, the one reason maybe the Nashville piece is a little slightly different is you tend to have a lot more industry folks at those songwriter nights,
Yeah.
whereas
There's a lot more. I hate to use the word competition because it was so
yeah,
friendly and everyone was helping each other, but there's a lot more writers, and
yes,
that was really cool.
a lot of industry folks floating around. You
Yeah.
know,
Yep.
the one thing about here with writers rounds, it's the writers and then it's whoever wants to come watch them,
Right.
and
Yeah.
usually not industry folks for the most part. So
Yeah.
You're trying to get industry people to your thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
you're in the industry. Yeah, come on, that'd be good.
How did you make it to? How did you end up in Nashville? What's that? Was
I just met people here who live there. I found there's a lot of people who split their time between Texas and Tennessee, and they were like, "You need to come out and write with us." So they finally talked me into doing a trip a couple weeks ago. So I went out and I wrote.
okay. All
But
right.
it was a creative firestorm for me from the moment I got there. Even just writing on my own. I remember I'd come out of a write, have an hour to kill, and I'd write like three songs and go to another write, and then we'd write a song, and then I'd get home and write three more. It was insane.
Yeah, that's
Well, as
cool.
much, I'm sorry, you mentioned as far as you like the business part of it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I'm sure that helps you with your networking drive too,
Oh
which a
yeah.
lot of
No,
people
I
aren't
was.
necessarily comfortable with. But I'm sure, like you said, if you like the business, and you probably like the talking, the networking in
Yeah.
general, also. Yeah.
Oh yeah. That was like I didn't know the CMAs were happening that week. So every time I was out, people I would be talking to someone and then they'd go, "Oh, I work with so and so here," and I was like, "Oh, fantastic!" Like I have all these questions. Let's go get coffee.
Yeah, that's great. I guess and I'm curious how often when you perform are you performing acoustic only, and how often are you performing with a full band or a partial band?
I usually play with a full band or a partial band at least four times a month.
Okay,
But like a full band at least once a month. I always shoot for that because everybody has full-time jobs and stuff, so that can be tricky because it's not just me. But I usually do at least three shows a week usually. So
nice. And
that
I know
whether it's acoustic, yeah.
I think you had said that you have a full band show coming up at the end of the month. Can you tell us about that?
I do. We are going to be playing at Hoots Bar and Dance Hall in Burleson, Texas from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. So y'all come out because it is going to be a blast and you're going to hear a bunch of songs that haven't been released yet.
Oh,
So
nice.
it's going to be fun.
Very cool. And can you tell us a little bit about your band?
Yeah, I've got Zach Aaron on drums and Tim Ramos on bass, and they both went to college and were music majors. They didn't graduate, but I ran into Zach's dad at the Hunt County Fair probably 2 years ago, Max, and he was like, "Hey, if you ever need a drummer, Zach drums." And I said, "Okay, cool." Still wasn't playing out, still wasn't really pursuing this full time, and then I started pursuing it full time, and everybody told me I needed to get a band. So I was like, "All right, if they're telling me to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't know what I'm doing." So I remembered that 6 months later, and I texted Max and I was like, "Hey, do you have Zach's number?" And he gave me Zach's number, and then Zach knew Tim. And the funny part about all of this is they were seniors in high school when I was a freshman. So we went to high school together, and we all did band together, but we weren't ever really close friends. So we all started playing together, and then we had someone playing lead guitar for us, but he ended up leaving. So now we've been using. I've got Dylan Birdsong. He plays with us. He plays for Bobby Irwin but when he's not playing with Bobby, he'll fill in for us. Carter Scandoval, he was playing for Howard County. He's going to be doing some shows with us next year. And then there's Luke Mondahano. He is 15 years old. He's from here in town. He auditioned for me, and he just wanted to play with the band. He'd never played with the band. I was like, you know what? But he was like, I'll come to practice and fill in for you since you guys don't have someone playing full time. If there anyone out there is interested, by the way, send me some videos because we're looking. You got to be over 21 though. But Luke, he plays with us every now and then too. But he's incredible, and it's been amazing watching his progress. And he's so passionate about playing guitar. That's been really cool to watch. He's a beast now. But we all are telling him, we're like, you're gonna be a beast here in like another year, because just the progress he's made in 6 months is phenomenal.
Very cool. I do have I'm sure you already have one, but it's always nice to have one on reserve. But I do have a bass player that's in Commerce, I believe. So I'll send it to you.
Yeah, feel free. If Tim can't make a show, I've got a list of backup musicians at all times. Yeah, I've learned.
Yeah. It's nice to have a little bit of a bench, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I've had a couple of times where someone called me and they're like, "Hey, I'm sick. Like I can't even stand up to play." I'm like, "Let me start putting out calls."
Right. Send out the bat.
Yep.
The bat signal.
Yep.
All right. So I like to play this game. If I'm guessing you've seen this on social media where people will go, "Hey, if you like this artist, you might like me." Who would those artists be for you? Like, hey, if you like listening to this person, check out my music.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a couple of oldies, and then I do have someone new. But Linda Ronstadt, I know that's not someone a lot of people listen to, but I love Linda.
She's great.
She's kind of rock queen. Whiskey Myers is one I've been getting a lot lately in terms of sound. And then if you're talking about like powerful vocals and stuff like that, Dorothy is another one I love too. For sure. But yeah, her first album though, like Gun in My Hands, stuff like that, for sure.
Yeah. Great answer. Well, folks, if you don't have a reason to go follow Carissa, now you do. So phenomenal answer. I'm curious about the first time that you got to play up obviously you had a history of, singing in church and just singing to whoever would listen, right? But I'm curious about the first time you got paid to get up and sing in front of folks. What was that like? And was it just secondhand for you or?
It was, let's see, I had just finished. So the scratches had just come out, and Joel Weaver, who worked at Brick Row Music, the Brad Davis's studio in Commerce, he called me because he had done all of the producing and mixing and stuff for me for those tracks. And shout out to Joel, you're awesome, thank you. But he called me, he was like, "Hey, Brad's doing this show at the Cocktail Creamery in McKinney. Would you like to go? It'll be a paid gig." And I was like, "Oh, really? Like, sweet." So I went, and I was a nervous wreck. And I remember right before I got there, I had swapped out like 2 days before one of the songs with "Breathe" by Faith Hill. And I am not the best guitar player in the world. I'm much better now than I was then. But the intros got that picking part that's iconic. And I remember I had practiced it twice, and I was like, we're gonna go for it. And that was the last song I was playing, and I played it, and the entire room went quiet, and all these people had just walked in to get ice cream, and they all got quiet, and then they were all like, "Oh my gosh! Like, how did you just play that?" And that was the peak. I was like, "Okay, this is addicting. Now I know why people do this, because it's the energy exchange. I don't know. You give something, and people give something back, and I don't know. It's just the coolest way to love on people." Anyway, that was when I was hooked.
Very cool. Well, I think
Yeah.
we are about at the halftime
Nice.
part of the show. So if you are interested and would like to pick a song out, then feel
Yeah,
free. We'll
I
sit here and be
can.
quiet and listen.
I'm not sure how great the sound's going to be. I've got my earbuds in, but I'll play
Yeah,
something.
we'll give it a run. I'm
How
gonna go
Yeah,
grab
we'll try.
how long ago was that show at the Creamery compared to now?
I want to say it was 2022, maybe.
Okay.
I was a junior in college. It was that February, so I want to say 2022.
Okay. Just
Yeah, I did that, and then I didn't play out again for like 6, 7, 8 months. Yeah, yeah. I did another show there too. That was where my second show was as well. Let me tune my guitar here real quick. I apologize in advance too. If Martini, aka the Martin, starts getting sassy and giving me attitude and breaks the string. She's very, very uh, over me, and I'm over her. This guitar is going to be sold. So yeah, I was going to bring out Gibby. I name all my guitars, but I have to get his bridge refiled. He's got a shard that keeps breaking off my G string.
what is he?
He's a Gibson. I
Okay.
named him Gibby though, because
Okay.
I was having so many issues with this guitar breaking strings after 2 songs, every other song. Just about I went to a Guitar Center before a show back in October. It was like 5 minutes from the venue, and I was just going in there to play and start guitar shopping, which is I hate guitar shopping. I like a good, reliable guitar, and I told the guy what I wanted, a bluesy, soulful, darker sounding guitar, and he goes, "I've got just the guitar for you." And I remember the whole way over, I was just like, "Lord, I want a Gibson. I've always wanted a Gibson, but I can't afford a Gibson, so I am just going to have to deal with having another Martin or a Taylor, because that's pretty much all I can afford and that I like." And he walks out with a J15 that some woman had brought in that morning. Her husband had passed. Sorry to her about that, but I was the biggest person on planet Earth, because he played it 3 times, sat in the case, untouched, brand new. So,
Holy
yeah,
smokes.
yeah.
Wow.
So I got a deal on it. I was very, very thrilled. But yeah.
Very cool.
But this song I'll play for you, I wrote this with Shelby Ballinger. I'm hoping it'll be the lead single off my EP. Everybody has loved it so far. I'm going to try and play my guitar quietly. If it's too loud, just give me a signal. But this is called Untamed. Does it sound all right?
I think it'll be fine.
Cool. Outside, the coffee, and this thing going on 30. So I think I'm a little insane. Like my hair first the morning. Tatted threads on my blue jeans. Safe to say I'm a little insane. 'Cause yeah, I like to learn the hard way that there ain't no easy way out. When the free spirit starts rolling like a palomino running wild, rolling down the highway, enjoying every mile. I'm a little untamed. Like a wildfire, you make it my flame. I got dreams and need to chase. Can't stop me, I'm a little insane. 'Cause yeah, I like to learn the hard way that there ain't no easy way out. When the free spirit starts roaming like a palomino running wild, rolling down the highway, enjoying every mile. I'm a little untamed. Yeah, I'm a little empty. Yeah, I'm a little empty. Cause yeah, I like to learn hard way. There ain't no easy way out. My free spirit starts roaming like a telemeter running wild. Rolling down the highway, enjoying every mile. I'm a little empty. Yeah, I'm a little empty. Yeah, I'm a little empty. I hope that wasn't too loud. Woo.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounded good on this end.
Sweet.
We
Yeah.
had a couple folks ask in the chat as far as
Yeah.
your socials and stuff. So because Miss Jude asked if you were on TikTok and stuff. So
Yeah. Just look up
time to,
Carissa, Carissa, Carter, Carter music. Should pop up everywhere, I think, if I remember correctly. If that doesn't work, you can go to my Instagram and there's a link tree there. You can click on the social media icon from there. But yeah,
It does
thank
work
you.
because
Appreciate it.
I found it today.
Hey, let's
I'm
go.
not sure why I didn't find it earlier, but I did find it today. So shout out to me.
I'm glad.
Yeah, that was great. I loved when you kind of dug in there in the middle. I get to tell like a quick little story here. So
uh-oh.
I've
Uh-oh.
only Carissa and I are only acquaintances really, but I've met her a couple times, and she showed up at our country versus metal happy hour.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And man, fun times, lots of stories. But I will say, so there were probably 30 to 40 artists in that room that night, and the cover band that was playing had the lead singer that lost his voice. So fortunately, we had some folks step up and sing some cover songs, and I think some songs of their own as well. As a matter of fact,
With a podcast friend.
yes.
Drew Harrell.
Yep, with Drew, and maybe we had Mike Ryan on last week. Jerry, who is the third member, plays with Mike Ryan.
Yeah. No, Jerry was running the open. He was up there playing, and I was talking to him, and he was like, "Yeah, we're gonna do an open mic," and that was how all that started.
Well, pretty badass to get up not only in kind of one of those situations where, oh, hey, we need somebody to fill in, but also to do it in front of your peers. I think, like it's pretty impressive to do that, but you have a lot of people in that room that are, I don't know, pretty opinionated and also pretty talented themselves. And to be one of the 3 or 4 folks to get up and do that, I mean, says a lot about you. And you sounded amazing. So it was super impressive to see. Yeah. So shout out to you. You're a badass.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I know that was, I love playing with other people I know in the room. That to me is a lot less nerve-wracking because we all know what the other's going through. It's a lot more forgiving for me.
Yeah, it was very cool. So I especially enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was trying to see if I could get my mom's heater to turn off, and it's not working.
Oh.
Sorry. That's why I'm over here like, oh, rats. Anyway.
That's fine.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
As far as those folks, did you have a previous relationship at all with our buddy Drew Harrell, or did you just hop up on the stage when?
I met Jerry that night.
Wasn't he part of the band that night?
Yeah, it's Drew.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I
Drew,
didn't.
Jerry, and Brandon. Brandon lost his voice.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, no, I hadn't met Brandon, and I hadn't met Drew before, and I hadn't met Jerry before, but I had seen Jerry play because Zach Roma band, they had opened for Mike actually out at the ranch, and I went to that show with Zach and Tim from my band, and we were talking to Heather that night, and I was meeting her in person that night. She's from Love you, Mama Heather, And she was there that night as well. And I walked to the chair and I was like, "Hey, I saw you play with Mike Ryan a couple weeks ago." And then we were talking, and the rest is history.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Somebody else in the chat, Cynthia, said that that the first time she heard you was on a radio show with Howard County.
Yes.
Another
Yes, I did
friend
that.
of the
Real
show.
Texas Radio. Yeah.
Okay,
Hi,
very cool.
Cynthia.
Gotcha. You got a question there, Talbot?
Oh, I do. I've got a bunch.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm curious, do you have any, I know you're pretty business minded or you enjoy being in that world. Do you have any like short-term goals, things that you absolutely want to accomplish in the next 6 to 9 months? And then beyond that, any long-term goals that you're willing to share with us?
Uh, for sure. Like I have very specific booking goals in mind. I honestly would love to see if I can get my social media numbers up and find a manager who can get me into spaces. That's like a very long-term goal for me. Get me into rooms that I could not get myself into. That's I love networking. That's one of I'm great. I don't need alcohol in a room. My nervous tick is making a fool of myself in front of strangers. But you'll either remember me or go, "Who are you? Stop talking to me." Um, there's no in between. You'll either like it or you won't. But if you don't like me, it's all good. You're just not my people.
Right.
But that's one of my strengths. But in terms of short-term goals, get one song out by March 1st. That's the goal. A really strong song. And then find one more lead guitar player to fill out my roster for next year. And then I'd like to book at least 2 full band shows for February, one festival in March, and hopefully 3 more full band shows. I'm trying to ramp up full band shows because those are a lot more fun. And then have openers too for my shows as well. So yeah, and then I have specific social media number goals and stuff and content. I mean, there's a lot of goals, but I know for
Right.
me, I see it on paper, I can create a plan, and I usually will try to get there. I may not always get there, but to me, it's better to try, and you're further ahead than if you didn't try at all. So yeah,
Absolutely. Any long-term goals? I mean, looking maybe, I don't know, 3, 5 years out, or is that too far?
I would love to get a record deal. That would help a lot. That's a really long-term goal. But that a lot of people don't know this, but record deals are basically they're like loan companies.
Yeah.
You bring the artwork and they're the gallery selling it. So for me, I would like to have enough music, streaming numbers, social media following, like venue, ticket sales, all of that to have a good record deal to where it's not a 360 deal or something like that, where they're taking a lot.
Hmm.
So at least like have proven that I can make good money doing it because it is a business at the end of the day. If you're not paying for yourself at a venue, then that's a problem. So
We
Do you
try
for,
to. I'm
oh,
sorry.
go
We
ahead.
try to make sure that we mention
yeah,
this at some point, anyways.
yeah.
But you heard her say stream followings on streaming platforms, right? So
Yeah, follow that streaming platforms, social media, because I have a lot of venues since I don't have
it gets
any.
overlooked though by
Yeah,
a
well,
lot
I
of
don't.
people. So hit
Yeah,
that
it
follow
does. It
button when
does.
you listen to
Do that.
somebody, Carissa or
Yes.
any other artist that
Yep.
that you're trying to help and get
Hmm.
them to places.
It does help.
The big ones don't necessarily need it, but all of everybody else down below. Keep that
Yep.
in mind with people that you listen to. I
Hmm.
guess because we all think of Instagram and all those things, but we don't
Yep.
really think about the streaming platforms. I didn't until I realized how
How
important
important
it was.
yeah, it really
Yeah.
is. So
Right.
Hmm.
I guess from a booking standpoint, I know it sounds like you're doing it yourself. Is that right?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I've had some people approach me about signing with an agency, but when I start looking at the venues they book with and stuff like that, I discover most of the time I'm already in communication with that venue or the booker or things like that. So once I get to play larger venues, that'll be a huge help. But right now, I was like, hey, I'm doing it. But I email probably about 100 places a week. It never stops. So and then you
Right.
get maybe 10 to reply to you, and then you're calling and it's a never ending job, that right there.
Yeah, no question. Well, and I think one
Yeah.
thing that I don't know anybody really cares, but you know,
Hmm.
there are a certain number of kind of key folks in that booking industry that you really
Hmm.
want to be with.
Yeah.
And not saying bad things about the other folks, but what they're doing is not horribly different than what you would be doing on your own. And does it make sense to always be paying someone to, at some point it does, but maybe not right yet. So food for thought
Well,
on
that
that.
goes back to that pie question, because we've had a handful of people answer similar to what you've answered, but most people don't want to deal with the business.
Right.
So if that section of the pie were to be smaller for you, then maybe you would lean more towards using
My
different people.
I like to know how it works though, because if I'm gonna be paying you to do it, I want to understand what you're doing in
Yeah.
case, something comes up and you're not sure what to do. That's my logic, because if you understand what they're doing, then you also know too who to hire to help you. So
And at some point, when you're incredibly
yeah,
successful, it's going to be really, really important
yeah,
to be able to manage that. Because
yep,
once you hire somebody, it's not like your work is done in that section. You have to
nope,
manage that as
yeah,
well. So who
yeah.
was it on here? I can't remember, but somebody, we asked a question on like advice or whatever, and they said, do everything yourself at the start,
Yeah.
because you
The
need to
person
have your
that came
hands
to
in.
mind when she was talking about that was Nate.
Nate Burnham.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and Charlie Argo was similar to that too, as far as the just the business side of it. We're not shying away from it. That was the two that came to mind when she
Yeah, it was probably
mentioned
one of
that,
those two. Yeah.
which are two totally different as far as sections of the scene. But still, those are the two that
Mhm.
already were in a business setting. As far as
Prior.
Nate,
Yeah.
ran a business beforehand and things like that. But, like you said, a lot of people, that is not their strong point at all. So they lean on someone else more than what you would, and it's just it is interesting to hear the different points of view from that, because
For
everybody,
sure, yeah.
yeah, everybody comes at it from a different space. So
Yeah, the ultimate goal is to get to where you're managing everyone and you can be an artist, have that chunk of the pie full time. That would be amazing. But for me right now, that's just not reality.
Makes
yeah,
sense.
even on the
Yeah.
barroom side, the cover band side of things, like I don't, man, that is not my favorite as far as the
Yeah.
contacting the venues and the no responses and the
Yeah.
you gotta suck up your pride and send another one and all of that
Yep.
stuff. That sucks as far as from my point of view. I absolutely despise that part. But when I land the gig and then me and the boys get to go play a gig, then it's
Yeah.
all fun and games from there. But
Yeah.
and I can't stand. And I don't think people realize the amount of no's or not no's, the
Yeah.
Just
amount
no
of
answers.
no replies
Right.
you get.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that was something I know for me that was shocking because it was like, oh my gosh, but if you're not at the top of their inbox when they sit down to book, they're not going to remember, they're not going to see it because they have,
That's
hundreds
it.
of people emailing them a week. So that's what I'm just like, all right, we're going to keep trying on different days. Yeah.
One of the questions that I had was, do you have anybody that you would consider to be maybe like an unofficial mentor or some? That's one
Ooh.
part of the question, and then the second part of the question is, do you have anybody that you go to for unbiased advice? And that could be either on your music or on, it really could be anything. Maybe
Uh,
even somebody outside of the uh, music industry.
yeah. I would say in terms of like mentors, I've had so many. I like Amy Johnson, Shelby Ballinger, all of the Sweetwater Girl fam. I've had people in Denison from Kickbacks Open Mic. Those are like my two. I went there and people just took me into the ring and were like, "We've got you. We'll show you the ropes." Then I went to T3R and I met even more people like Neil and Howard from Howard County, and
Sure.
all of that started. And then they were telling me how to do stuff, and like Ryder Grimes and his crew, they've helped me a ton too. But everyone has advice and everyone has a different approach. So you learn so much and you learn what works for you. But when I need unbiased advice, I go to my mom. She's always real with me, or my brother. They'll shoot straight with me, and if, whether it's about a song's good or something to do with like the business side of it, or contract negotiation, writers and stuff like that. I'm just like, yeah, help. because my brother, he's really business oriented. He's, in my opinion, far more successful than me already. He's younger than me, but he's brilliant. And my mom just has common sense, and she also has a good uh, compass sometimes whenever I'm having 500 people tell me what to do, and she'll be like, you just told me what you want to do, like stop getting lost in all the opinions.
Yeah.
So
It's easy to overthink it.
it
That's
is.
normal.
It really is. I was going to say, I've been dealing with that all week, trying to decide on a studio to go record.
Well, that
Yeah.
seems like a good good place to jump in and talk.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Soul, if you want.
Yeah, I was just I agree with you. New music is
Cheers.
gonna be coming out.
It is.
So what's the plan on that as far as what you know of at this point? What's the
Well,
goal?
it's honestly just come from a need. I sat down to start booking for next year, and I was trying to play as many festivals as possible because logistically speaking, for me, most of them provide sounds with a lot less to haul. Because having to haul,
Makes sense.
all of your equipment and the soundboard, and then a sound guy, and then if you have to have lights, a light engineer, it gets you've got 10 to 12 people sometimes by the time you get to a show because you've got crew loading in, loading out, all that. So I was like, festivals, like that's a little easier in terms of logistics, and my band is usually free on Saturdays. So I started reaching out, and the number one comment I received is, "Oh, we'd love to book you, but we have to book based on Spotify numbers." And I said, "Well, looks like I need to get music out." So my goal is to have one single out by March 22nd, which I've been told is doable. So going to be in the studio at some point in January, and we're going to record one. I've got it narrowed down to 3, but regardless of all of that, my goal is to have an EP out by August with 5 songs. So, which we're going to celebrate with my birthday's in August. So we're going to do an EP release party, and then festivals through September and October to promote it, and radio and all of that. So, and then more after that, but that's long-term stuff. So,
I
Nice.
know
yeah,
things.
Very exciting.
I know things can
yeah,
change when you get in the studio, but
yeah,
do you kind of have a like a
oh yeah,
certain avenue, a certain sound that you are shooting for, or are you just gonna kind of let
yeah.
the songs take shape?
My voice, I'm always told is really bluesy and soulful and country. So I have a country twang with how I say stuff. So my goal is bluesy, soulful country. And then since it's so powerful, I'm 90% sure there will be a rock flair with it just to balance stuff out. Um, that's what I'm going for. So, and it'll
Right.
probably, I know it's my soundboard. We can record stuff, and my band and we've been recording demos to send to studios on it and mixing them ourselves. That's been a whole thing, just to kind of give them an idea. Because there's only I play acoustic guitar. I have a lead guitar player, bass, and drums. That's all we have to work with. So we're like, this is what we've got to start with, and we hear other stuff here. So we'll see. They may come out sounding different, but it's regardless. I'm already in love, so it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, when you were mentioning names earlier, I caught the Whiskey Myers thing there, so I was
Yeah.
wondering as far as the rock flair of it, if that
Yep.
was gonna
That's
if
the
that was
rock
gonna be a
player. Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll definitely be interesting to hear the
That's
outcome
what
of that.
everyone's telling me, but I think they'll like it. So so far they seem to like it when they come to shows. So I have people asking me when certain songs are coming out. I'm like, oh, okay, like we're doing good. Like, because that's always a good sign. Because a lot of times when you're playing, you have a bunch of cover songs and then you slip in an original, and if people notice and they come up and ask you about it, you're like, that's a good song. So that's
Yeah,
how I've been determining what songs to put on there. But in December, we're going to debut Heartbreaker's Paradise, Between These Two Barstools, and a couple of others that we haven't played out yet that I just got back from my Nashville right with. So I can't wait to see people's reaction to those. Um, that'll be really
Absolutely.
cool.
Yeah, very
Yep.
cool.
well, this another question. It's not as good as the pie question, but we like to ask it on
None of them
every
really are.
Yeah.
episode anyway, because and you talked about this as far as people recognizing your song, that it was an
hmm
original. What about opening gigs? I mean, opening spots. Have you done very many of those?
I've opened for Howard County, but I have not had a ton of those. A lot of the venues have told me I need to have music out, so I'm
Gotcha.
getting that done.
So that's
But yeah, I've got a couple of artists though. They've reached out and said, "Hey, we want you to come open for us next year. Like, text us when you're free." So once that's all worked out, I'll let you know. But Yeah.
No, well, the more of the question was basically when you're playing these gigs, and even
Hmm.
when, like you just said, when you play an original, and people start to pay attention, how
Hmm.
is that from your point of view? When a song you've written is clicking with somebody, how is that from your point of view?
Honestly, I'm honored and it's humbling, and you feel really vulnerable because they're listening to the words, they're not just listening to it. Because I don't have a band behind me most of the time, but like I had on Friday, and these people were troopers. They came out though. They remembered I had played at Tufts a couple of other times. They came out. They were fellow Lions from Reno, Let's Go Lions. But they sat. It was 38 degrees outside, and I was playing outside, and they sat outside, and all I did was play originals for an hour. I have a ton of originals because I write all the time. And they were just like, "Oh my gosh, like what are these coming out?" And I was like, "Well, not all of them can come out because music production's expensive." But that was, I don't know, it's crazy and wild that people want to come listen to that because I've never had that before, and it's also just a privilege too because they don't have to let me play there. They don't. These people don't have to sit out in 38-degree weather to listen to these songs, and they'll do it. And it's crazy, and I love y'all. And
Yeah,
thank you.
It
Really,
makes
thank
you
you.
keep going.
Yeah, it does, man. I couldn't feel my fingers, and I was like, I will sit here and play until midnight for y'all. Like, absolutely no shame. Yeah,
That's funny.
that's fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Are we ready for some rapid fire?
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
Chris. Good news, Carissa. The pain is almost over. We do rapid
What?
fire, and
Okay.
then Chris has Soul Gravy has a final question that's very important that we're saving for
Okay.
you. So I feel
All
like you're
right.
going to do well on that one, but some of these we're not
Okay.
sure. So, all right,
Okay.
if we hop into your vehicle, what's on your playlist?
Albums. Any album you want. I'm an album listener. We do not do songs. We do not do playlists. We listen to albums in my car. That is
Oh,
my thing. Because albums, the track list tells an order. So whether it's a CD or whatever you want to pop in, that's what we're doing.
okay, cool.
So
So
no shuffle.
specifically,
There is no
what?
shuffle. You will pick an artist and we will listen to an album usually.
All right, that's
Unless
cool.
you're DJ. If I let you DJ, that's a different story. But yeah, I'm an album listener. I have a
All right,
massive vinyl collection.
I respect that,
Okay. All right. You
and I
see.
know
Yeah.
somebody else that respects that.
Hey, I was about to say I thought that was one earlier, but I wasn't sure. I
Mhm.
Yeah,
was gonna
I just
ask you after.
like cows. All right, so
I
Poor
like
cow.
cows too. I
Yeah.
like cows too.
the
Yeah.
next question is, since you're an album person,
Okay.
a desert island album. You get to take one album with you. What is it going to be?
Ooh. At the moment it would be Heart Like a Wheel, Linda Ronstadt.
Ah, it's a
Okay.
great one.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with that one at the moment.
It's a wonderful
It
album.
is. It is.
All right, next question. Dinner with one historical figure.
Jane Austen.
Oh, that's a first.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. All right, very cool. Um, this is a little bit different. What do you see when you play? Like when you play the
Cows.
guitar,
I
you see.
literally, that's what I've sung to. I still sing to them. Like whenever I write songs, I'll lay in my backyard and they come up to the fence sometimes. They sell them and stuff, but they come up to the fence and then I like pop up over it and scare them away. It's my thing with them. But cows. That is the least. I'm just in the field and it's just me and cows.
Okay. All
Okay.
right.
Yeah, that's the theme tonight, cows.
Um, this one, I don't know. Well, I'll just ask it. What's your ideal green room look like?
It will have a fruit tray and not a in water. That's all I need.
Fruit tray and water. It's pretty good.
Fruit. Yep, that's
Um,
it. Just
first
pop my
concert.
grapes on the couch.
Yeah, perfect.
First concert?
Yeah.
First
Oh
concert.
man,
Well, hold on. It's a
Jolly. Okay,
qualified first concert that you went to, and then first concert that you paid for. Might
Dolly
not.
Parton, Pure and Simple tour. That was my first ever concert. I was 15. My mom took me to that. I didn't think I was gonna like it. We'll never forget when she said, "I'm gonna play this backward," and turned around backwards to play the saxophone. I didn't actually play it backwards. I've never laughed harder in my life. And
Sounds
then
like
the
Dolly.
first concert I paid for, I got grounded over. But I bought tickets to Carrie Underwood's Cry Pretty tour for my high school graduation. But I didn't tell my mom I bought them for St. Louis, Missouri, because I didn't know if I would be in Dallas for college. So we had to drive to St. Louis, Missouri.
St. Louis is a lovely town.
Yeah, my mom said, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "Yeah." And she's like, "I'm so happy we're gonna go see Carrie Underwood." But she said, "Seriously, St. Louis." And I was like, "Yeah." So yeah.
All right, good answer. A couple more. Bucket list venue. So you could have maybe two. So one that you'd like kind of would be in your purview right now, and then maybe one down the road.
Right now, loving Warplay now. But down the road, I want to play Green Hall,
Okay.
hardcore.
Yeah.
Yep, want to
Two
sell
great choices.
that.
Yeah.
Last question, tribute bands, yay or nay?
I think yay. They are
Okay.
phenomenal. I've seen quite a few good ones.
All right,
The,
cool.
the, the tribute band must be way bigger in Texas than it is, which I know everything in Texas is bigger. Don't get, I already know this.
Yes.
The sign says so as soon as you cross the state line.
Sign's not wrong.
It is
Understood.
not wrong.
Understood. But
We do
still.
have a proliferation, I believe is the word, of them in
Yeah.
DFW. There's a lot of them.
Yeah,
They're really good though. I saw one the other day. The lead guitarist was like swinging his guitar around him in a circle, and I was like, your strap has to be
Right.
great because I was blown away.
Strap-ons.
Stage presence is great.
Was that a Limp Bizkit tribute band? Just kidding.
I have no idea.
I
I
would
was
go
just
see that
like,
one.
what?
I would go
Yeah.
see that one.
I will say though, in defense of the area, we have a lot of tribute bands, but then we also have a lot of just non-tribute bands. So like the
Yeah.
music scene is
It's
it's
a
big
lot of
enough to
people.
hold all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's good.
All
All
right,
right, my turn.
your turn.
All right.
Okay, I got one other question real quick as far as the vinyl thing.
Okay.
Do you just like to go and look through thrift stores and find random stuff? All right.
I find random stuff. I love it when friends give me vinyls because it's always things I would never buy for myself.
Okay.
Um, and then I also have some that I collect that, you're just like, I have to have this, put it in a frame, never play it, admire it. It looks pretty. You play it maybe once,
I
it depends
I,
on the day.
I asked that because the Heart Like a Wheel album was actually one of like I knew who she was, but
Yeah.
I didn't really know, I guess, really how good she was until I started digging
She's
in
great.
on the vinyl. So it's like that was one of those that whenever that one and Bonnie and a Bonnie Raitt album, I'm going blank on what the name of it is.
Oh, Bonnie Raitt. She's one of my other favorite musical artists of all time. You're just naming all the good ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great taste over
Yeah.
here.
Yes.
Indeed.
No, it was just, I guess, one of those things, like you said, the album thing. It made me sit down and listen. Like that's one of the things that I do like about collecting vinyls. You drop the needle, and you don't want to get up and change songs, so you're going to listen to the
Yep.
whole thing.
Yep.
And I remember that album being one of them. That was like, man, there's a lot
Yeah.
more going on here than what I realized with her in general. She wasn't really on
Yeah.
my radar too
She's
much.
got, I would go look it up, but there's another one that she did. Oh gosh, she's sitting there in like the blue bayous on it and the pink robe and the
Mhm.
mirror. Yeah, that album I love absolutely. But she did the Mick Jagger cover on there because he roasted her and said she only did ballads. So she covered one of his songs. And
Yeah.
I love it. I love it even better than his version. But anyway, I can't remember the name of it now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I just wanted to ask about that, see if I was.
Yeah,
I knew I wasn't the only one, but
you're
you know,
not.
I like digging through the old boxes just to see what
Yeah.
comes up. All right. So here is the most important question of the evening. This started on
All
episode
right.
number 1 and was a
Okay.
joke, and now it is a requirement that we ask this.
Okay.
All right, Carissa, what is your favorite Little Debbie snack?
Honey buns.
Okay. Okay.
It's a second time for honey
Yep.
buns.
Yep. Yep.
She
I'm pretty
and
sure
I'm
Nate.
I'm
yeah,
I think
maybe
Nate.
I'm
third.
not a big sweet. Yeah, I'm not a big sweet person, but I ate those as a
What he
kid,
said.
so that's really all I like. And
So
I can't like even to this day, I can only have one every now and then. I get sick of them.
well,
Yeah, poor
don't
Debbie.
let that deter you, Little
It
Debbie,
doesn't.
with our sponsorship over here.
Yeah, Carissa,
So
Yeah,
you can't eat that many.
Once
I
we
used to
get,
give away the rainbow brownies, the cosmic brownies, to my friends at school that like to trade them for food because I was just like, it'll brighten your day and I'll get food. I'll eat. Win-win. My mom didn't, I don't think knows that, but yeah, lunch bargains.
Yeah.
solid
Yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah,
get that sponsorship, we'll make sure and send you some honey buns.
Yeah,
You do
exactly.
that. You do that.
Well, all right. Carissa, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
Again, if you don't follow her on all of the social places, make sure you do. When Carissa or any other artist posts something, actually interact with it. Hit the like button and comment. It helps a ton. It doesn't just go
Hmm.
away and fade off into the ether. It actually, gets on everybody's pages. That
Yep.
way, especially Instagram and TikTok and all of that. So,
Hmm.
when she releases information about, hey, I've got a new single coming out in March,
Uh,
make sure, and she asks you to pre-save it, make sure you hit the pre-save button because that helps with all the, unfortunately,
hmm.
all the streaming platforms have algorithms too. So,
Yep.
and all of them, one more, as far as we talk about this a little bit, but not, I don't think we talk about it enough. On the streaming platforms, uh, make sure you follow and pre-save all the stuff that your favorite artist asks you to do. Because like she said, venues are looking at that stuff.
Yep.
As us casual music fans, we don't think about all of that part of it. But those streaming platforms are a huge selling point that the artists are going to
Hmm.
use and the venues are using. So it's just like
Yeah.
a resume for a job.
Yep.
It verifies to the venue that this person is going to bring people in,
Yep.
and that's critical. So please follow along, support, talk on, chat at them, like just
Yep.
be involved. Do what
Yep.
Soul Gravy said,
Please.
folks.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Carissa.
Thank you
Appreciate
thanks
it.
again for having me and working me in. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.